a second. Okay, so I first of all want to thank Michaliba for facilitating Chaim. So thank you so much, Michaliba. I know you tried really hard to do this, and we're so appreciative. You can send another message to the group to please join. That'll be great. Okay, so I want to introduce Chaim. Chaim Meisels, 29, is the great-grandson of the Satmar Rebbe, Rav Beirach Moshe. About 8 years ago, Chaim chose to immigrate to Israel and enlist in the IDF. Chaim left everything behind, enlisted in the IDF combat unit, and was sworn in at the Kotel. He served as a commanding officer in the Egoz program, Special Forces unit, and then was in Golani. So I want to proudly, with so much humility and so much gratefulness to you, I want to honor you and welcome you to this group, and thank you so much for doing this for us. Chaim, I also want to mention that I don't see you, but I want to mention to you that it's a very small world, because I think I did reach out to you as well after Michaliba gave me your information.
His camera is on him. You don't see him?
No, I don't see him. But
Really?
my daughter-in-law is Karen Honig. And I understand, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, you were at their house, the Honigs, in the Five Towns. I think that...
yeah, I was there.
Right. So I think that Beth's father, right, was one of the soldiers that was instrumental in saving, was it your great-grandfather or grandfather during the Holocaust?
So my great-great-grandfather.
Your great-great-grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's such a small world. Wow, amazing. Okay, Chaim, it's all yours.
First of all, I'm going to say good morning. It's an honor to be here. It's really special. I know it's been a long time in the making, but it's really special what you guys are doing for Klal Yisrael and everyone. And it's an honor. So, thank you what you're doing. And I know I'm going to start by saying a story. For me, at least, stories speak the best. It's sometimes the small things we daven and we do that has a huge impact. And sometimes we see it and sometimes we don't. The majority of times we don't. But I'm going to tell a story from one time we did, but I feel it was just like an encouragement from God to say, hey, I know you don't always see it, but prayer really helps. And I'm convinced that whatever you guys are doing here, and it's a lot by saying Nishmat and Tillim and everything, I'm sure it is really saving lives, probably on a daily basis, because there's craziness in every day. There's one story that I was a little bit involved. So I'm going to share that story. I was in Gaza with a lot of soldiers, and the way it works, for those who don't know, I'll explain it. There's a couple things that have to work out together. So one, that is usually when soldiers go into a new neighborhood, there is usually tanks in the front. And then there is foot soldiers in the back, and then there's other different types of vehicles a little more in the back after those foot soldiers. That's number one to understand. And number two, the way a lot of the tunnels in Gaza work is, so they would dig a tunnel, and then they'll have an opening that doesn't fully come out. The other opening would be about, I would say, 2 or 3 feet from where the actual ground level is outside. So all they have to do is they come in from behind and they just, poke a few shovels. So that's how they're able to come in without seeing them and without us knowing before that they're coming. So this particular day, we were going from one neighborhood to the other. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yes, perfect.
We were going from one neighborhood to the other ones. And we have a guy in our unit. His name is Malkiel, a very frum guy. Now all the soldiers are very frum and very good, but he particularly has a thing for mincha, that he never misses a mincha. Doesn't matter where he is, what he is, he's gonna daven mincha, with mini or without, he's gonna daven. And we had this walk. It was a day walk, and the plan was that it's gonna take a couple minutes, maybe an hour, but in the end, it took a lot longer than planned. And when it came to time for mincha, he looks up in the sky and he sees the sun is almost coming down. And he didn't have a mincha yet. And he realized by the time we're going to get to the building where we're supposed to get, it's probably going to be too late for mincha time for him. Now, as we know, Gaza is in Israel, so it's not like us. We have Mizrach. So when you're in Gaza and you want to daven mincha, what do? You turn around back towards Israel, which is towards Jerusalem, and you start davening. Now, it took a very long time, that particular walk. It was supposed to take a lot shorter. And he stands at where he is and he davens. Now, it happened to be that by the time he was davening, he was the only guy looking at one particular spot. So, he was still in Gaza, so he didn't, fully close his eyes. He's still in there, but he was davening. And he looks as he's davening and he sees a couple of feet from him, the tunnel opens up and two terrorists come out with an RPG aiming towards their tanks and the guys who were more in the front. So they didn't see him. He was like very close to them, but they didn't see him. He was, davening quietly. And obviously he shot them and he took them out. Literally a second before they were hitting the guys in the front. Like they were all ready to hit the guys in the front. And you don't always see it that davening saves lives, but sometimes we do see it, and we gotta, I think, take those stories and share them, so we know sometimes God is showing us, hey, your prayers matter, and whatever you guys do matter. And this was a very, I guess, the story that I take very close to me, at least, and I'll share it with you guys, so you know that even if you guys are not praying every morning in Gaza, or you're not praying, in the dangerous places where our soldiers are or where other people fighting for Israel are, but I'm sure it has a direct effect on what we're doing every day. So it's really appreciated, and I just want to say thank you. This is it's a thank you I can say. I'm not sure what particular interesting guys are more interested in hearing, but I'll say another story that happened to me very recently, and then I'll open for questions, and if you guys have questions or if you want to ask something. So what I do now with my time in the United States, I live here, I have my wife and kids here. What I do now is the majority of my time, I'm busy with soldiers who went to Israel to fight and come back to the United States. Some of them are struggling with PTSD, some of them just to help them find. Everyone is a different case. But we take them out sometimes. About 2 weeks ago, I took out two guys on a boat, wakeboarding. And as I'm sitting on the boat, I get a text from one of my friends with a picture of me saying, and the article said, the head or the top commander of IDF Special Forces in Rafah was killed with 5 of his soldiers in an ambush, and the name is Shinkel Jiva. And then I see my picture. So under, for the first second, I thought there's maybe a terrorist whose name was Shinkel Jiva, and he was the head, Hamas terrorist from, their special forces, I guess. And I don't know why they're putting my picture. It didn't really, like, I kind of waved it off a little. And then I get off the boat and I open my phone. I see a lot of more messages, and people are sending me this picture and this article. And then I was like, I know I'm not the head of special forces in the IDF, so I have a very good position, but I'm not the top, so it didn't really talk to me. But then I Googled the name Shinkel Jiva. If you guys, you can Google it and see. I realized that Shinkel Jiva is a fake name and a title Hamas, the Iranian Post, whoever gave me, and they said that I was killed, which was very odd. And it really got me thinking a little then. I was like, the more I was thinking, like, we could die any day. Like we really could. And that particular day, a couple of soldiers were killed. And then the more I was thinking, the more I like to think, it's odd and it's funny that they, have their fake press and media decide that I was killed, which I wasn't. But the fact that we have to live our lives every day, and I'm talking mainly to myself, knowing that we could do anything any day. It doesn't matter if we're in Gaza, or if we're here, or whatever. God could decide that this is our last day. Doesn't matter, what we do and how we do. And I, like, since then, really, I'm trying to live every day knowing that I could have, if God wanted to take me, he could have taken me. And question is, am I now doing what I can, knowing that it could be my last day? So am I, talking to my friends the way I want to talk to them? Do I owe people money? If I do, I got to make sure I pay them back. Or do I, respect my family as much as I need to? Do I, be a good father, a good friend, just a good Jew, really? Knowing that God could do whatever he wants at any time. And we're just, we're doing our tafkid. And since then, I think life has a way bigger meaning to me, for sure. And that's something I would like to share with other people, to know that, I guess God did this to me in a way that he wanted me to share it, maybe. So that's why I'm sharing it. And I wish I can, if there's one thing I can share, is that, we got to live, the best way we can. So, we have a good life after. And I see someone is writing here. I guess it's to me, a fails rumor of that is a segula for Arifas Yom. Yeah, that could be a fact that, fails rumor is segula, but I don't know if it's a real rumor because it wasn't my full name, it was just a picture. But it's still something that shook me up a little bit. And I would share with other people to think about it. If there's any particular questions, I can answer.
I wanted to ask you, like, I'd like to, a little bit of a history, like, how did your family feel about you going to serve in the Israeli army? What compelled you to want to do this, given
Right.
Where you came from, right? Even I think it's Satmar, right? Where you
Right.
so
it
Satmar
wasn't.
is
Yeah, I think I understand your question, but there's no like straight answer. I can't say there's one thing that happens one day. There wasn't like one thing that happened and say, hey, I'm going to, leave Satmar and go to the IDF. There's a lot of things that happened on the way that led me to end up living that way. I did not think, again, I liked Israel a lot. I was always connected to Israel. Even when I joined the IDF, I didn't think that I gonna stay for 6 years active in and become a commander. It wasn't really my plan. It was kind of something God set up for me in a way that, one thing led to another, and it happened that way. I remember when I got out of the IDF, I met my wife. I'm married now, Baruch Hashem. And I remember telling my wife, she asked me when we were dating, how will your life, like being an IDF soldier and going through everything you went through, how will this affect our life? And I said, look at it something in the past, maybe I'll do Miluim here and there, a week or two, I'll look at it like I'm going to hang out with the guys. I don't think it's going to have an effect on my life in any way. Little did we all know, I guess, 4 months after my wedding, October 7 happened, and I went back to Israel, and I was there. I think I finished my 6th round a couple of weeks ago. Going back, and I feel like, hopefully by now it's very soon to be over, but, we don't really know. So it wasn't something that happened in one day. It was more a lot of things that happened one after the other. And I guess God had this plan for me that I just didn't know about. No one else knew. And in terms of my family, in the beginning, they didn't understand what I'm doing. But I think by now, you know, we learn to grow with each other. We learn to respect each other. And, I think family stays family. Doesn't matter what, what they do, as long as we're not even, but, if we're good Jews, we're good people, family is meant to stick together. It doesn't really matter what you do. So it wasn't it was some, bumps, I would say, in the road, but we had to come it over and come to a conclusion to say, hey, we're all doing good things in life. And that's how it continued.
But can I ask you something? Like,
Sure.
you were in a religious unit, right?
I was not.
Oh, you were not in a religious,
I
but there
was
was
not.
religious guys.
Depending on the time, really depending on the time. In the beginning, not at all. By now, yes. Like the unit I'm now is, I would say, I don't know, 40% are probably religious, and I would say the 80% are like probably putting on film every day. I mean, trying to be Shomer Shabbos as much as they could. I was not in a religious unit because I didn't intend. Again, I wanted to go when I went. I wanted to go as hardcore as possible, do my thing, and then come out and go back to normal life. I didn't think it's going to be that type of life for me, or I didn't plan where it's going to head. I was not. Some days I'm thinking I wish I was. Other days I guess God had this plan for me and signed me up for it. But if you could ask me now if people should join the religious units, I think absolutely yes. By now, they are a lot better in terms of the people, in terms of the missions they're getting are a lot better now. So I do support the religious units a lot now. Just when I joined, I wasn't in any of them.
But were the guys that you were with,
Mhm.
right? The guys that you were with, my husband was a Chayal Boded way back. He was
Oh,
actually
nice.
he was actually in the Lebanon War, 82.
Wow.
And so, and he, believe it or not, at his age just now, he just did 2 weeks of Miluim to try. They put together these new units of older guys to try to take away some of the load so that the young guys can go home and get a little bit of a break. So
I
he
would love
just,
to speak to your husband after that. Like if you can
yeah,
connect me.
so
That's
it's
impressive.
actually amazing. The guy was
Mhm.
doing like patrols at 3 o'clock in the morning, full
Wow.
gear, the whole thing. At his age, it's crazy.
That
But
is very impressive.
yeah, but my question to you is, the guys that you were with, did they appreciate? Did they understand? Did they appreciate what you were doing? I'm not talking about now, but originally when you went into that first unit, did they
I don't
appreciate?
know, like not really, and I was kind of happy that way. Like the guys in my first unit, um, didn't know really the difference between a Haredi and a Litvak or a Tilomi even. Like they were so like not even they were all young kids, 19, 18, 19. They didn't really know, majority from like Moshavim/Kibbutzim, some from big cities knew a little more. But no, they had no idea anything about, the name Satmar, obviously not, but anything Hasidic, they didn't know. And for me, I think it was kind of good because, I had to work as who I am, what I'm able to deliver, and not, there was no family, you know, background or anything. There was none of that stuff in the beginning, at least. But afterwards, I think once I became an officer, there was an article in one of the Israeli media newspapers or TV, and then people knew a little bit. But I feel on day to day, it didn't really make any difference.
Wow. Did you feel, so what you're basically saying, you were a little bit, it was good for you because you wanted to stay a little more away because you didn't want any of that. You wanted to
Maybe
isolate a little bit.
I'm not sure I wanted to isolate as much as I just wanted to, be like any other guy and prove myself. So
Wow.
that's really what it was. So it was kind of good that way.
Wow, amazing. And how, when you went back now and you
Hmm.
served like that, how is it affecting your wife and your
I think
children?
she's here. You can ask her if she's gonna want to say, but it's very hard. And I have to say, as much as I work hard. I feel she should get a lot more credit than I do. That I should get, because when I'm there, at least I know what's going on. I know where I am. I know, I know if we're safe or not safe. Like, I have some kind of control. I feel when she's here alone with the kids, majority of the time I'm not available even over the phone. For sure not to help. And I feel the mental pressure, let alone the physical, but even the mental pressure, knowing your husband is in war at the time, and you don't know what's happening. And every time you see the news, everything probably goes through your head. I feel she deserves a lot more respect than I do. Like I call her Aisha's Khayal. Also Aisha's Khayal, obviously, but I really feel the wives, the mothers, the family members, probably you when your husband were there. I feel that takes a lot from a person. So yeah, like if there's one of the things I would want to do is I would want to help the families more, and I think they should get a lot more respect that they do.
I totally agree with you. I remember my first year of marriage, my husband was in Lebanon pretty much the whole year. So
Wow.
yeah, so I really do understand. So I want to I'm going to open up. Michal Liba wants to ask you something, but I just want to say also what you said was so stunning, because it's so true, and it's so interesting, because if we would all live in that moment, right, of almost thinking that tomorrow can be our last day, chas v'shalom, for anybody, that how differently we would think about our lives and what would become important to us. So I think that was so profoundly stunning, and I thank you so much for it. I'm going to open it up to Michal Liba. Go ahead, Michal Liba.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you so much for being with us. This is really like such a schus. You have no idea how much we dive in for you and for all the chaylim every day with tears sometimes, and it's unbelievable. And we have united as a family, our Nishmat group, and it's been just really a travel I can't even explain, an experience we can't explain. I'm so curious, and I don't know if you feel comfortable speaking to that whole thing around Sinwar. I know your brigade, what you had mentioned, it had taken credit for it, but you weren't really sure or something. I'm not 100%. I know you had spoken to Nachi
Right.
and you were interviewed with him. Yeah. Is that okay to talk about that? I would love to know. And then, yeah.
I can briefly speak about it. I really what happened was, I'll make it as as important and as short as possible, I guess, the important parts. My team, like including my guys and the bigger team, were in a certain neighborhood. Now everything was calm for a very long time. Um, there was some incidents a couple times here and there, but funny enough, I haven't seen my wife for a couple of weeks before, so she came to visit to Israel, and I said I'm gonna go out for 24 hours to see her, and literally in those 24 hours, that's when they killed Sinwar, and it really sucked for me in a way that I wasn't there at that time, but I was still involved in that fight afterwards because it's a couple of, like, it was a longer story. So there's other terrorists that by the time I got back, there was still plenty of things to get done, and before that also some, but we didn't know that Sinwar is going to be there. I guess God also had his plan for one guy to see something, and then it triggered a whole chain of events that happened one after the other. But I wish I can take credit for it. I don't.
Is
It's
there a
more the
special
guys.
mission? Was there a
What do you
special
mean?
mission that, well, around
No.
that whole situation, they were just
Again,
there?
we did some stuff in that area that were special, but we didn't like we knew Sinwar was in the area a couple weeks before. We had evidence that he was there. Like we knew he was for sure there. There was 6 hostages that we found, or one of the teams in the area found, that said, "Hey, Sinwar's DNA was all over them," so we knew he might have been in the area. But by the time that fight happened, like that particular fight happened, we didn't know it's him. Like, we were fighting with a group of terrorists, and later when they went back to check, they realized, hey, one of them was Sinwar. But it wasn't a thing, and I think it deserves a lot of respect because it shows there's guys, doing regular, stuff every day, and and you never know when you get a big fish, I guess. But the fight is real, and they did a good job. And
How do you feel about the way that Israeli soldiers today and Jews are being portrayed around the world? The complete bahafachu of the actual truth of the way, the Israeli soldiers are being portrayed. What do you feel about it as being someone who has fought?
like we obviously know it's lies, right? We know it's lies because we know the truth. I've been there, I've seen it, and we talk about it a little bit. I think we should not be scared. Whatever they're saying, the truth is going to come out, and we know we're in the right side of history. We know on October 7th, Hamas came to attack Israel. If we're going to go back, I'm not talking going back history for 50 or 60 years, right? We can go back just 20 years. In 2005, Israel completely left Gaza, right? We took everything out of Gaza. We left. We gave it to them. They had their own primaries. They chose, if we go back to the history of Gaza, they chose a lady to run for government in Gaza in 2005, that her idea was that she said 3 of her kids were suicide bombers and she has another 7 to give. And that just shows who they are. So it's really time for us, and hopefully we will destroy them once and for all. And obviously it's not going to go with an easy fight. And we should not be scared of the world, because it's our lives that matter here. And if we're going to be scared, they see it. I'm just going to say, even in the last few weeks, we were almost by a deal to get the hostages back and win this war. And then when some countries came out to approve a Palestinian state, Hamas drew out of the deals. They're the ones backing off. So obviously they're here to fight. And I think if we show weakness or anything, it gives them power. And ultimately the truth is going to win, and God has a plan for us. So we just got to push it through and fight it. And we'll do good. It's the truth will come out. Like the New York, article, New York Post, the New York Times article, it came out, that picture of the kid, and we all know it was fake. Not only was fake, that kid was treated in Israel for his sicknesses. I think the same with everything else. Time will very soon come out the truth that Hamas is monsters, and all they want to do is kill Jews and Israelis, all over. And we'll fight back, and the truth will come out. We'll win.
But the problem, Chaim, like even with that picture, is that the damage was caused. The damage was, that picture was used around the world.
True.
And hundreds of millions of people saw that picture. Many news outlets did not do a retraction. And even the retraction of the New York Times, I understand that it was only done on a certain one of its websites. It wasn't done.
So I understand, and that's our duty as Jews. We have now, they're a little, stupid, I would say, for releasing the pictures and the videos of the hostage digging his own grave. I think that would be something that's our job, to spread those pictures and say, hey, look what they're doing. They have innocent civilians. You're not talking about a soldier. Those guys were not even soldiers, okay? You're talking about guys who are innocent civilians, who their deal is, or they lived by the border, or they went to a festival, and they took them hostages, versus Israel is fighting Hamas, fighting people who are proud of killing Jews. So I would say it's our duty, in a way, to spread the truth out there. And if we have non-Jewish friends, maybe we got to be nice to them sometimes, just by saying, hey, look, we're Jews and we're good, and this is, in Hamas are the monsters, and they are doing a lot of bad things. And kind of almost like they're doing, we got to use individual people, have to use their own power and their own social media or social groups, wherever they have, and spread the truth and say, hey, this is the truth. And if we're going to say it enough times and strong enough, I guess more people will believe it.
Yeah, I hope so, because I'm going to let Javi ask the next question, because we are 15 million people, basically, and not all Jews are together against over 2 billion. There's 2 billion Muslims in the world, and there's probably hundreds of millions of Christians who feel the same way as the Muslims do. So it's a really uphill battle, I think, that we're facing.
Right,
And
like on Hanukkah, we had 8 Hashmonaim who won thousands of people. We can still win. I believe we will. It's a matter of not giving up.
I agree. I agree. I think Hashem really has to come in, and I think he's showing the world. He's giving everybody a choice to choose. Unfortunately, most of the world is choosing the wrong side. Javi, go ahead, Javi.
Hi. Hi, Chaim. I just, first of all, just wanted to say hello. I don't know if you remember
Hi.
me. You spoke at my shul in Delray Beach.
Oh.
And you made a massive impression. That was our point, obviously, bringing you in so they could see, most of them have kids and grandchildren in the army, and it was important for them to
wow.
see you and your wife. So that
Thank you.
was, so I wanted to thank you again. It's good to hear your story again every single time, and especially your encouragement. I think especially now, like we're saying about what just happened, because it's so extremely upsetting to see their condition. And on top of that, to see how the world twists it. So it's great to hear from someone on the ground that you still have that. And, and any of the Chaylim I hear from who have your attitude, it's always amazing to hear it. Really, I just wanted to say hello and thank you again. And to what Nomi said, I actually met a Chayal in his 60s when I was there in April. I spoke to our group, and what she was saying, that they now have groups of older men coming back now, not necessarily to fight. They're not necessarily going into combat. They're going
No, they're not
into,
going into combat.
right. They're going into desk jobs. They're going into intelligence. They're going into logistics, anything that they could do to free up the guys in their 30s to be able to go home. So I think that's also unbelievable. He was incredible. He told us they were a unit of, I think, 11, all in their 60s, and that there were a whole bunch of units like this being put together. It was incredible.
There's
But
400.
thank you for what you're doing.
Right. Amen. Okay, Mazal, go ahead.
Shalom. Thank you so much for
you.
sharing your story, and it's just so beautiful. We've been hearing more and more, unfortunately, that soldiers are taking their lives. What is happening? Is there something that we can do that, whoever is a mental health specialist or families, to help with that? What is happening there?
So there's a lot of explanations to what's going on, but it is a very sad. Every story is a very sad one. Unfortunately, it happens a lot more than it should. And it's sad to say a lot of soldiers come back. Sometimes have, the way I see it at least, it's more survivor's guilt than anything else. And sometimes they have a hard time understanding why they came back and some of the friends didn't. And I think a lot of people are struggling with that. So we just got to be nice. If you see a soldier, just try to be nice to him. Sometimes he's going to ask for help, but sometimes not. But still, he should know that there's a community who wants to help him. I'm involved now with an organization called Nivud that we take care of soldiers in the United States who came back from Israel. And there is quite a few struggling as well over here. So we try to help them. I would say people who are mental health professionals, if they have experience with PTSD or anything in that area, there might be a need they should help, but every case is very different. But overall, we got to pray for them. I feel, some people come back with physical injuries and some people with mental injuries, and we got to have them in our prayers and make sure that we tell God, hey, those were heroes and those are good guys, and let's pray for them and help them. Again, I can't say how because every case is very different. And we'll help them, and with God's help and our prayers, we'll be able to. They should have normal lives and have a good life.
So
Thank you.
If I can mention that PTSD actually is much more serious than people understand, and if not dealt with within a very short period of time, could become catastrophic within a period of a few years. There is a bunch of places that have opened up in Eretz Yisrael that specifically that the Army sends soldiers to. Different units have tried to open up different places. I know they're always looking for They're always looking to be supported financially, and also I know that there's many different people who are different therapists in Israel who have given up their time to try to help a lot of these boys. But you're right, the amount of suicide is crazy. Just, what is it, 2 weeks ago or last week, there was another
I think
boy.
we're standing on 7 in the last month, as far as I know. But I don't want to, I don't want to fundraise here or anything. I really don't. But I'm involved with Nivut, that we help soldiers in the United States. And if people want to look us up or help out, it's nevut.org. People can look it up or look up my name. They'll find connections to the organization. If people want to help, we'll take the help.
Michal Liba, go ahead.
Yeah, Chaim, I would love to hear what goes on. I'm sure it's different each time. What goes on in your mind when you go out to and you know that this could be, I don't even have words because I don't even know how to present this, but I'm just so curious. Can you give us a little window into your mind, how you hold yourself strong, or what are you thinking when you go out to battle?
Okay, so unlike terrorists, we're not suicidal. So whenever we go out, we do everything humanly possible to make sure we're going to come back alive. And we don't risk our life unless it's to saving another Jew's life. And then when we're saving another Jew's life, we know for sure that God is going to help us. So it's not like, to me, honestly, I usually don't think that I'm going to die. I almost never. I'm very confident with my guys and Hashem with us, I guess. So and the people praying for us. So I know we're gonna do good. And when I'm there, most of the time it's funny to say, but the majority of the time I'm thinking how to make that particular mission better and how to make sure the guys are doing a good job and coming back as good as they're going, if not better, knowing that they did something for the Jewish people.
You encourage them as a commander. What's the role? What do you have to do?
It's always something else, but the majority of the role is, hey, guys, we're in this together. We're gonna do a good job. We know what we're doing. We've been training for it, and if not, we train for it. We know that Klal Yisrael is literally standing behind us and has our backs in prayers, in donations, and in whatever else we need. And we know that even when we come back, people and good people will have our back if we need to. And we got to do it for Israel, because if not us, we're all young people-ish. I would say not everyone is so young, but in 20s and 30s, majority of our guys. And we got to do it because someone has to do the job.
How do you feel, Chaim? I know this is going to be a controversial question. How do you feel in terms of, we know that the religious Zionists in the country in this war took the greatest hits in terms of injuries and deaths, because proportionately they do go into better units, more combat units. How do you feel in terms of, I'm not talking about learners. I'm not talking about people who sit and learn. I believe we need to have learners, people who sit. I'm talking about the ones who don't sit and learn, but don't take part in the, how do you feel as a soldier? How do you feel about that as a religious soldier coming from a leadership family?
In terms of who took the most hits, I think that's a very unfair thing to say. And I'm going to tell you why. Because on October 7th, the majority of people who got hit were festival goers and the kibbutzim, which are not particularly right kibbutzim, the majority of them on the Gaza border. So I don't like to compare who took more hits. Now, in terms of Haredim, I understand. In terms of Haredim, joining the IDF, as someone who's in the IDF for quite a few years, and I know a little bit how the system works, I think every Jewish person has to help the only Jewish state in the world. Everyone has to do something. If there's a lot of not from guys who are not fit to serve in the IDF, and they can do different things. And I'm okay that people should join Hatzalah, the fire department. They can even be babysitters for soldiers who are in the front lines, and that's why their wife needs help, so they should go babysit or do grocery stuff, whatever they should do. I feel everyone has to do something, and it doesn't matter if you're Haredi or not. And I think within the Haredi leaders on a very low level, they are slowly more and more getting involved in the Israeli society, and in helping the war efforts. However, the way I see it, at least, the majority of the people screaming that the Haredim should join the IDF are using it in a political agenda,
Right.
and not really by them actually wanting the Haredim to be in IDF. It's very political for a lot of them. If you actually see what they're saying, it's or because they want to, break the current government, or they have different agendas. If you look who they are, you can see, not to be too political, but in the years that there was a left government in Israel, the Haredim were actually pushed away from joining the IDF. And the question is why? If you were the guy screaming that they should go, why, when you're in government, you always push them away? Because it's clear that they have a different agenda. So we have to, like we talk about the news in the world, we gotta sometimes be selective to our own news agencies and who we listen to, and understand what really is going on. Whatever the news says, it's not always really the case.
It's interesting what you say, because I really do believe that there is a fear by the left of Haredim serving in the army, because if Haredim start to serve in the army, then the Israeli army is going to become more religious. The upper echelon there'll be more of observant Jews in those positions, and everything's going to change. And plus the fact that I think that if Haredim do start serving in the army, in terms of going into the workforce, you're going to have in tech and all these places very strong Haredim, and it's going to change the whole,
I know. We're getting more and more Haredim to join the army. We're getting more and more Haredim in the tech world in Israel, in a lot of different, all different types of agencies. We see them more and more, and it's good. But again, like everything else, the news is not always working in our best interest, and we have to be smart enough to know what we want to listen to and what not.
I 100% agree with you. And I also agree with you that it doesn't matter as long as everybody does something, right? And we don't recognize that all of Hatzalah, all these organizations are all Zaka, they're all,
right.
All the organizations that, all the food in the hospitals, all Yad Sarah, all these organizations are Haredim. They are.
Yep.
We need a different narrative. We need some more Ahavas Yisrael.
Nomi, can I share something?
Go ahead, Shira. I was just going to call on you, please.
Oh, thank you, Chaim. My name is Shira. I live here in Israel, and 2 weeks ago, my son-in-law got injured and in the hospital, and fractured his hips. And he has 3 little girls at home, and his wife is pregnant. And you're right what you said about your wife. The women are the heroes, I have to say. They work so hard to keep families together. And my other daughter-in-law, my son has been in Syria on and off for the last while. And she has 4 children at home. And the women are incredible. But let me tell you something else. Since the war began, I work with essential oils, and Nomi knows about this. And I have one oil called Hugs in the Bottle. I don't know if you've heard of it. But since the war has begun, I've sent out 9,000 bottles to people, to women, families, soldiers, institutions, organizations who want. And I'm going to send it to you too. I'm going to send you. It's the oil that's made with lavender, wild orange, and cedarwood. And all of them create healing on different levels, and they're pure
Wow.
oils, and people love them because it helps them relax, it helps them sleep, and it gives them strength. Listen, it's a tip to the ice of the pain that people are having,
Right.
but that's something that's really important to me. And the other thing I want to say to you is I'm trained as a pastoral counselor, 55 years. And I was trained, first of all, I was trained by the nuns, and because they didn't have pastoral counseling for Jews then. But one of the things that I will never forget from the very beginning was I was in a workshop and somebody said, if this is the last day of your life, how would you live it? And you know, for 55 years, I'm 76 now. And for all my life since then, that's been how I live. Like, is this how my last day of life is going to be? What would I do different? And, you know, my husband died a few years ago. And I remember we never went to bed angry with each other because we didn't know what would be. But
Wow.
it's really important to say that to ourselves. And, you know, the work you're doing in America, thank you. Thank you. My granddaughter is coming at the end of this month. They lived here for 8 years, and my granddaughter is coming to do the army. She's coming as a lone soldier.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, you know, you never know where things go. You just never know. And I'm so grateful you're there. I'm so grateful what we have here. And thank you for everything you've done. I think it's incredible. And your wife is incredible too.
Man.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. I think actually one last question or
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to take one last question. Any one last question? Does anybody have one last question for Chaim before he gets off?
Oh,
So
I'd
Oh.
like to just ask, is there a list of the surviving hostages for
We-
Tehillim?
we do. We say the names of the hostages every single day when we say the tefillah. Judith
Okay.
has a list. She'll put it up, or Goldie will put it up on the chat. I
Okay,
also want to say
thank
one thing before Chaim goes. I don't know if people saw that movie, that documentary that was put out by what is it called? Chaim. It was by is it Gausher? Did you see it, Chaim? It was put out on Tisha B'Av. I highly recommend everybody watch it. It was taking 5 different or 6 different. It was a father the morning after. It was a father who lost his son. It was a wife who lost her husband. It was a boy who lost his father. It was a soldier who was the one left who was severely injured, who came back from that platoon who lost 21 guys at the same time. And it was, did I miss anything, Shelley? And I just highly recommend. What?
Survivor.
Adam Burger.
Oh, and it was
Yeah,
a gun
the
burger.
survivor, yeah,
It was
and
a
her
gun
mother.
burger. It was a gun burger and her mother. And it
Wow.
was, I think every one of us needs to watch it to understand the level of what people in Eretz Yisrael have really, you know, we sometimes forget the greatness because of all the other stuff. And when you look at these people, the greatness is unbelievable. So Chaim, thank you so much. This was amazing. Thank you. Hashem should continue to protect you and to give you koach, you, your wife, your children, to continue doing all the beautiful, incredible things that you're doing. And thank you from all of us for doing everything that you did, for really protecting Am Yisrael. And
Thank you. I'm just gonna say thank you. It's really amazing what you guys are doing. Literally, thank you. I'm sure those prayers have a huge impact. Even if we don't see it every day, but I'm sure this is literally saving lives. So if I can say, you know, you guys are doing great. You know, if you have, you know, keep it up. God will be with you, Me'etz Hashem. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thank you.
thank you, Chaim. Thank you so much, and thank you,
Satmar Rebbe.
Michal for bringing
Thank you for joining us. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Your name is in my sitter, and I daven for you all the time. You should be safe, and your family should be well.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All
Can
right.
we
Amen.
have your email? Is it possible so I can write to you?
You know what, Michal Liba will give it to you.
Okay, thank
Michal
you.
Liba will give it to you.
Okay, great.
Okay, we'll give it to you privately. Okay.
Bye.
Okay, everyone.